I was pregnant when my rich ex found me at a food truck. I was sneaking a late-night taco from a food truck when I ran into someone from my past, one of those trust fund kids I'd gone to college with. His eyes widened in recognition. Lily? Damn, you've been MIA for a while. Still playing hard to get with Ethan? Ethan Blackwell was my first love. The heir to Blackwell Industries. We were supposed to go to grad school together. But at our graduation party, someone slipped him something. I rushed to help him. And in the confusion, he suddenly pushed me away, half-dressed into the crowded hallway. He said I'd do anything for money. After that night, I became the campus gold digger. The harassment got so bad I couldn't breathe in that city anymore. So I took my mother and left. 2 years gone. His friend was already pulling out his phone. You don't know how crazy Ethan's been looking for you. Now that you're back, just apologize. You know how it is, couples fight, couples make up. Make up? I laughed, standing up and smoothing my hand over my 6-month baby bump. I'm about to have a kid. What exactly are we making up? Chapter 1. This guy Chase was Ethan's childhood friend. He'd witnessed everything between us, from awkward teenagers to lovers. He fumbled with his phone, staring at my belly in shock. Shit. This is bad. You're pregnant. Behind his back? I'd snuck out tonight for a craving. I wasn't in the mood for a reunion. But Chase blocked my path, desperation clear on his face. Lily, Ethan's even richer now than when you broke up. He's Chicago's most eligible bachelor. He said if you come back, he'll marry you. No prenup. His enthusiasm dimmed at my blank expression. Look, just get rid of it. I'll pretend I never saw you. My eyes turned cold. You and Ethan need therapy. Stop harassing people. His face flushed red, pointing at me speechlessly. I was blocks away when I heard him shout. Stop pretending, Lily. You're the one who tried to get into his bed. Getting into his bed. That label stuck to me from day one of our relationship. Because Ethan was Chicago's golden boy, and my mother was his family's housekeeper. Rich boy and the help's daughter, nobody bought it. But Ethan's love had been bold and public. They said I must have used tricks to make him fall for someone so beneath him. Back then, I was young and proud. All that mattered was that I loved Ethan and he loved me. So I worked harder, determined to prove I deserved him. I refused his credit cards. Never used his connections. From 18 to 22, our unlikely romance lasted 4 whole years. I thought we'd have many more. Until graduation year, when Victoria Sterling came to spend the summer with the Blackwells. A family friend's daughter. Victoria was everything: old money, played harp, rode horses, even did hip-hop. She was bright and beautiful, with everything I had and more. People started mentioning how the Blackwells and Sterlings had some informal engagement from years ago. Victoria was here to make it official. Chapter 2. Anxiety ate at me until I went to find Ethan at the country club. Every Saturday afternoon, he'd be at the stables to decompress. But this time, he wasn't riding. He was leaning against the fence, watching the arena with bright eyes. I followed his gaze. Victoria in riding gear, commanding her horse with practiced ease. I watched her, then looked at Ethan. He hadn't noticed me, his eyes tracking her every move. My unease multiplied tenfold. Ethan? He startled, then excitedly grabbed my hand, gushing about Victoria's riding skills. Want to try, Lily? My face burned. I don't know how to ride. The disappointment in his eyes nearly killed me. That day I cried through our first real fight. He was confused but tried to explain he didn't like Victoria, the engagement was just drunken parent talk. It should have been fine after clearing the air. But the hurt lodged in my throat only grew. I wanted to tell him to stay away from her. To wait for me to become someone worthy. But those insecure thoughts choked me silent. Because saying them out loud made me sound pathetic. So I grew quiet. Ethan didn't notice. He and Victoria had too many shared interests to explore. But his mother noticed. Mrs. Blackwell called me to the sunroom, elegant as always. You know why I never stopped Ethan from dating you? I stayed silent. Because I knew you'd never last. Once he's had his fun, he'll move on. Look how well he gets along with Victoria. Ice poured down my spine. Ethan says he doesn't like Miss Sterling. Mrs. Blackwell smiled. Silly girl. If you leave now, he has an excuse to move on. What if I don't? Lily, this is a statement, not a suggestion. Chapter 3. Mrs. Blackwell followed through. She fired my mother. Mom signed frantically, tears streaming down her face. They said I stole. Docked my last paycheck. I swallowed my tears, promising to get her money back. But when I found Ethan, he was gaming with Victoria. He barely glanced at me before tossing his controller aside. Lily, why did you really date me? I froze. Did your mother say something? Ethan, don't listen to her. Don't talk about my mom like that. I stood there, watching this stranger wearing Ethan's face. His cold stare made me shake. Finally, he turned away. Just go. I watched him return to his game, Victoria laughing as she leaned into him. That was the first time I thought Mrs. Blackwell might be right. 2 days later, my mother's paycheck arrived along with my grad school acceptance. I hesitated, then texted Ethan my thanks and told him about the acceptance. Going to grad school together had always been our plan. He sent an address and 2 words, come over. Ethan was with his rich friends. The kind who loved to watch drama unfold. When I walked in, the guy nearest the door raised his glass mockingly. Well, Miss Martin's here. Congrats on Yale. Don't forget us little people. I'd faced this before with Ethan. I ignored them and walked to where he sat with his head down. Before I could sit, the guy spoke again. Lily's the poster child for marrying up. Without Ethan, someone like her could never afford Yale. His words barely finished before Ethan lunged, fist connecting with his face. What the fuck did you say? They ended up in the ER. In the car. Ethan wiped blood from his mouth without looking up. Get the money? I was cleaning blood from his knuckles. I nodded. He pulled his hand away, laughing bitterly. Then grabbed my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. Lily, if I had nothing, would you still be with me? Exhaustion and frustration washed over me. But I held back tears, looking him in the eye. Ethan, believe it or not, I've only ever cared about you. My mother had been blacklisted by agencies for being deaf. Repeatedly cheated and thrown out. Teenage Ethan had given me his number, said his family needed help, told us to try. That bright, kind smile still appeared in my dreams. He was the only color in my gray life. How could I not love him? But Ethan didn't believe me anymore. His gaze held only suspicion the way someone powerful looks at those trying to use them. Chapter 4. I started seriously considering ending things. But thinking about it made my heart ache. So I played coward. Until graduation night. I was getting chairs from storage when I saw Ethan stumbling down the hotel corridor, about to collapse. My heart clenched. I rushed to catch him. His collar was open, skin flushed, mumbling about being hot. I thought he was just drunk. I helped him to a break room, but when he pressed me down, I realized something was wrong. I tried to push him off, but part of me thought maybe this was fate choosing for us. Ethan chose too. He lifted his head, squinting at me beneath him. Lily? I shakily reached for his neck. Next second, he dragged me to the floor by my wrist. Ethan held his head, staring at me on the ground. Are you insane? You know what you're doing. You drugged me. I stared up at him in shock. Drugged? No, I saw you about to fall, so I just... His mocking sneer cut me off. Keep lying, Lily. When did you become this? I held back tears, desperately defending myself. It wasn't me. Check the security footage. His response was silence and that cold, mocking face. The silence froze my heart. I wiped my tears, voice shaking as I said what I'd been thinking. Ethan, let's break up. He suddenly laughed, yanking me up. Playing hard to get now? Is money that important to you? Fine. Before I could react, Ethan dragged me to the door. He opened it. Then shoved me into the hallway. I froze. So did everyone in the corridor. After 2 seconds, someone started whistling. I curled up on the floor, shaking, desperately trying to cover myself with the scraps of fabric. People pulled out phones. I could only beg Ethan through chattering teeth. Please, Ethan. Not like this. Just give me something to wear. He sneered. Something to wear? When you drugged me to get into my bed, why didn't you think about clothes? Isn't this the price gold diggers pay? The crowd erupted. People called me names. Said I deserved it. From that moment, I was branded with shame. After that night, I became infamous in our Chicago circles. Everyone looked at me with disgust, their eyes lingering where they shouldn't. I was going insane. So I cut all ties with everyone I knew. One night, I packed up my mother and left. 7 years ago, when I fled Chicago in humiliation, I never thought I'd return. For years, just thinking about the city made me curl up shaking in the dark. Until tonight, running into the past. Those memories felt like another lifetime. My inner calm told me time really does heal. But I wasn't the old Lily anymore. So I turned and slapped Chase across the face. Go to hell. His eyes widened. You've got some nerve now. Believe me, I'll have Ethan deal with you. I laughed. All these years and nothing's changed. Still the same arrogance. Chase thought I was scared, pointing at my belly. You know you fucked up. Get rid of it. Ethan's waited years for you. You're one step from everything you people want. Everything I want. 7 years ago I tried that step. Ethan turned me from a good girl into a pariah. I smiled coldly. How do you know my husband isn't better than Ethan? Chase looked me up and down. Impossible. Those families would never accept a housekeeper's daughter. He paused, enlightened. I get it, you married some bastard son. I laughed, too tired to argue. Chase yelled after me, you'll regret this, Lily. I didn't know if I would. But he definitely wouldn't have the guts to follow through. He told Ethan. I was back in Chicago. Chapter 5. I was browsing baby clothes when the sales associate tapped my shoulder. Is that your husband? He's been watching you. I turned with a smile that froze on my face. Every hair stood on end. Ethan stood there in a perfect suit, eyes locked on me. Seeing me look, he stepped forward, then stopped. Lily. I covered my belly and backed away, turning to leave without a word. His footsteps followed urgently until he blocked my path. His gaze slid from my face to my stomach, voice lost. You're married? With a baby? Trapped, I nodded. Yes. His face went white, hands trembling at his sides. A tell from when Ethan was about to break down. I looked away and up at him. I need to go. Move. He seemed not to hear, voice hoarse. You said we'd have 2 kids. A boy and a girl. You said you'd teach them. I cut him off, irritated. Memory problems? We broke up 7 years ago. He stood. Frozen, eyes reddening. No. I never said we were breaking up. I was just angry. I looked for you after, but you were gone. How could you disappear without a word? How could you be so cruel? Because I couldn't survive in Chicago anymore. I smiled. Ethan, I really almost didn't make it. He stared at me intently, wanting to speak. I continued. My phone was full of messages asking my rates. Strangers knocked on my door at night. I almost couldn't graduate. What did I do? Wrong? I just fell for a rich boy. So Ethan, how do you have the nerve to show up now? Ethan's eyes went completely red, looking at me desperately. I didn't know, Lily. I thought you drugged me, so. I laughed. So you check later? He nodded painfully, explaining he'd checked the footage a month after I left, caught who really drugged him. Some underclassman from his club who had a crush on him. I made a non-committal sound. After so long, the truth didn't matter anymore. But Ethan didn't see it that way. He insisted that if everyone apologized, my hurt would disappear. I'll make it right, Lily. I can transfer assets to you. Or whatever you want, cars, houses, jewelry. Just forgive me. I looked at him wearily, uninterested. Fine. Never appear before me again and I'll forgive you. Ethan stared in disbelief. After a moment, he shook his head and reached for me. I covered my belly and retreated. He froze, eyes on my stomach, voice distant. The man who you'd have is Bobby, is he richer than me? Can he give you more than I could? I sneered, meeting his gaze directly. He looked away, ashamed. Ethan, I don't know where you got the idea I was with you for money. But in 4 years together, I never took advantage once. Seeing his confused look, disgust washed over me. I was done talking. This time, Ethan didn't follow. But his stare burned into my back. Chapter 6. Ethan seemed determined to stalk me. Standing outside my building all night like some tragic hero. He did nothing but stare with that lost expression. Eventually, neighbors started giving me looks. I was terrified of 7 years ago repeating. Finally, I went down to confront him. He looked at me hopefully. I took a deep breath. Stop coming here. You want to ruin me again? I'm married. My baby's due in 2 months. What's the point? Ethan glanced at my belly with pain before looking away. I turned to leave. He grabbed my wrist, pleading. You're not married, right? I stared at him, shocked. He grew more certain. I've only seen you alone. This baby has no father, right? He glanced quickly at my stomach, voice strained. I can be the father. Your kid's the one without a father. A cold voice came from behind. I turned. A man in a trench coat stood with a suitcase, holding a greasy bag of street tacos. If looks could kill, Ethan would be dead. Adrian turned those dangerous eyes soft when they found me. Lily. I pulled free from Ethan, eyes stinging as I ran. To him. What took you so long? Ethan had been stalking me for days, and I couldn't move while pregnant. Adrian quickened his pace to catch me, patted my back, then handed me the tacos. Not too many. Finally, he looked past me at Ethan. Mr. Blackwell? Coveting another man's wife and child isn't very decent. Ethan went pale, looking at me with pleading eyes. I nodded in agreement. Exactly. Morally bankrupt. He looked like he'd been punched, about to shatter. But the proud rich boy wouldn't take the mockery. He looked at Adrian, forcing some authority. Who are you? Lily's about to give birth and you're not even here. What kind of life can you give them? Street tacos? Adrian frowned, looking at me apologetically. Sorry. Has it been hard? I'm not a good husband. I couldn't stand seeing him blame himself, quickly hugging him. You were doing important work. It's different. Ethan watched us, face white, speechless. Seeing that once beloved face just annoyed me now. I said coldly, who are you to judge him? You. Know how much support he gave me abroad? You? So devoted, but did you really look? I was just 1 block from your campus. Ethan thought I'd needed him for school, never knowing I'd had full scholarships everywhere. He never cared about my efforts, so he trampled them. Those years abroad, I'd even survived a shooting. Adrian, who happened to be in the same restaurant, had shielded me with his body. Don't come back. It's really bad luck. I took Adrian's arm and walked away. Ethan stood frozen, gaze flickering between us. But he had no right to call me back. To me now, he was the outsider. Chapter 7. Back home, Adrian was dejected from Ethan's provocation. He kept staring at my belly sadly. I wiped sauce from my mouth, stood and pressed his face to my stomach. He's been good. Want to talk to him? Adrian wrapped his arms around my waist, voice low. I'm sorry. He'd been away for classified research, not by choice. I couldn't help teasing him. So you think Ethan's better? Want to push me to him? Adrian went red, almost shouting. He doesn't deserve you. I sighed, stroking his hair. 7 years and he's still crazy. Back then he'd accused me of being with him for money, been so cruel. Now he acted like he wanted me to want his money. Ridiculous. After that, Ethan stopped appearing. But Adrian was secretly planning something. One day, he handed me an evening dress, saying we had a gala to attend. I stood outside the familiar mansion with mixed feelings. Your gala is at the Blackwell estate? Adrian adjusted his tie, serious as a prizefighter. Lily, today you're here as the most honored guest. I was confused. Until I saw Mr. and Mrs. Blackwell hurrying over. Years later, Mrs. Blackwell still wore her shawl elegantly. Only her perfect smile faltered for a second seeing me. Then she naturally looked away as if I didn't exist. Mr. Blackwell shook Adrian's hand politely. Professor Mitchell, what an honor. Adrian shook back, pulling me close. This is my wife, Lily. Mr. Blackwell didn't know me, extending his hand kindly. Mrs. Mitchell. Adrian gently corrected, my wife's also an accomplished scholar. She keeps her own name. Mr. Blackwell smiled. Of course. Professor Mitchell, Ms. Martin, please come in. Entering this familiar yet strange house felt surreal. All the shame and pain that happened here felt like another lifetime. Adrian's warm hand on my back, he whispered, smile, wife. Let those who hate you see you thriving. I laughed, glancing at Mrs. Blackwell ahead. Sure enough, her perfect face showed a hint of anger. Having someone she'd always looked down on as an equal guest must hurt. But I felt great. The satisfaction peaked seeing Ethan's shocked face. My smile grew wider. Mrs. Blackwell suddenly spoke. Lily, it's been so long. Mr. Blackwell paused, looking at her. You know Ms. Martin? Mrs. Blackwell adjusted her shawl, smiling warmly. You forgot? Ms. Martin's mother worked for us as help. She continued without seeing the strange atmosphere. Poor woman. Deaf and mute. In the end, wasn't she caught stealing? Before she finished, she covered her mouth apologetically. Am I talking too much? Adrian said flatly, if you know you talk too much, control yourself. Mrs. Blackwell's face went through several colors. Mr. Blackwell looked displeased at his wife. Getting old, memory and mind aren't what they were. Ethan, take your mother to get some air. Ethan, who'd been silent since seeing me, hoarsely apologized and helped his swaying mother out. People around us changed the subject. I heard Ms. Martin had multiple lab offers when she returned. Quite accomplished. Yes, any mother who could raise such an outstanding child is remarkable. I stood watching Ethan and his mother's retreating figures. For the first time, I truly understood. What goes around comes around. Chapter 8. At the gala, I met Victoria Sterling. She looked unchanged, still dazzling. She came over with champagne. I thought I'd never see you again. I tilted my head, thinking. Well. I did marry up. Victoria burst out laughing. Ethan and his classist mother must be dying seeing you. What era is this? I always thought his mom was crazy. I smiled without responding. Victoria hesitated, then leaned in. You know why Ethan suddenly thought you were with him for money? I smirked. His mother told him. Victoria nodded. She made recordings. Audio clips of your voice, edited to sound like you saying you were playing the long game. That marrying Ethan would change your life. She made a video too, in case he didn't believe it. Victoria's mockery deepened. But Ethan believed just the audio. I froze, then laughed. That's pathetic. He'd never trusted me. Always looked down on me deep inside. So his mother's recording hid all his secret insecurities. He never thought to verify with me. Just sentenced me to death. Why didn't you tell me? Victoria and I turned. Ethan stood there, eyes red, looking destroyed. Victoria, you knew. Why didn't you tell me? Victoria looked embarrassed. I sighed and stepped in front of her. Ethan, calm down. You chose not to trust me. Not her. Don't blame others to make yourself feel better. He gave me a bitter smile, tears at the corners. Lily, I loved you. I frowned. His gaze traced my face inch by inch, full of grief. Loved you so much I wondered why someone like you would want me. Then I heard the recording. I thought I finally had my answer. I couldn't accept you only wanted my money. It made me feel worthless. But later, I wished you did want my money. He laughed bitterly, tears sliding down. Lily, I'm sorry. I'm the one who didn't deserve you. These late confessions came too late and at the wrong time. I looked down. Now everything's clear. Can you please leave me alone? He made a dejected sound and turned away slowly. Victoria dramatically patted her chest. She pulled a business card from her purse. This is my husband's card. He's been wanting to meet Professor Mitchell. I figure better to work with me than the Blackwells. I took the card with a smile and said goodbye. Then crumpled it into a trash can when alone. I'd never learned these high society games. Good thing Adrian didn't care. He just wanted to get me home and make me noodles. You barely ate tonight. Must be tired. I slurped my noodles and told him about Mrs. Blackwell's schemes. Adrian's face went dark. Finally, he huffed. I'll never work with the Blackwells. I grinned. Adrian's lab had achieved industry-leading breakthroughs. Whichever company got them would have a decade's advantage. As the lead researcher, Adrian had significant say. No wonder Mr. Blackwell was so polite. Mrs. Blackwell was in for some rough times. Chapter 9. Mrs. Blackwell cracked sooner than expected. She invited me to coffee. With 4 bodyguards. I stared at her mockingly. She wore huge sunglasses, manicured nails digging into her palms. After a moment, she took a deep breath and waved her hand. Soon the table and floor were covered in luxury shopping bags. I remained unmoved, almost laughing. What's this about, Mrs. Blackwell? Her lips pressed into a line as she forced out an apology through gritted teeth. Ms. Martin, I apologize for my inappropriate comments. I said. Oh. I don't forgive you. She shot up, chest heaving, then forced herself to sit. Lily, Ethan's disowned me because of you. Haven't you had enough revenge? I shook my head mockingly. He disowned you for playing him for a fool. Nothing to do with me. Mrs. Blackwell removed her sunglasses, her perfect posture sagging for the first time. I underestimated you, Lily. What's so special about trash like you? Coming from nothing, soul reeking of poverty, yet Ethan went crazy for you. Said he'd marry you after grad school. I'm his mother. I couldn't watch him ruin his life. I laughed harder. Mrs. Blackwell, how noble of you to sit with someone as poor as me. Let me stop offending you then. Have your guards move. She looked at me unwillingly. Get Adrian to work with Blackwell Industries. She paused. Once they sign, you divorce Adrian, and I'll allow you to marry Ethan. But that child can't stay with you. My face went completely cold. I threw my coffee in her face. You and Ethan really are mother and son. Same mental illness. Mrs. Blackwell stared at me in shock, jumping up. Are you insane? Adrian's just a professor. He'll never have half of what the Blackwells have. I couldn't help swearing. Then why is your precious family begging me? You say I reek of poverty? Well, you reek of something that makes me want to vomit. Let me go now, or this poor person won't mind trending on social media. Mrs. Blackwell's face turned ghostly. Suddenly, the door burst open. Ethan stumbled in, reeking of alcohol. Mom. What are you doing to Lily? Mrs. Blackwell shook with rage. Look what she did to me. I tried to slip out during their fight, but sharp pain in my stomach doubled me over. Ethan heard me and rushed to support me. Lily, what's wrong? I pushed him away through gritted teeth, pulling out my phone for Adrian. The baby's coming. I hung up and called 911. Ethan insisted on riding in the ambulance, huddled uselessly in the corner. Don't be scared, Lily. I'm here. I rolled my eyes. You being here is what scares me. The Blackwells were like a cursed stick, whoever they touched was tainted. After delivery, I was wheeled out. Adrian stumbled over, tears and snot everywhere. I weakly tugged his hand, gesturing to hold the baby. In the distance, I saw someone lurking in the corner with a black eye. He stared at Adrian carefully holding our child, undisguised envy and jealousy in his eyes. After a long moment, he sighed and disappeared into the shadows. Later, Adrian told me he'd called in favors to get Mrs. Blackwell detained for a few days. Fresh out of detention, she received divorce papers from Mr. Blackwell. The dignity she'd clung to finally shattered. She fled the country. As for Ethan, after his parents' divorce, a half-brother suddenly appeared at the company. Supposedly very capable, making Ethan's position precarious. I heard these things and forgot them. Adrian's new favorite activity was waiting outside my lab with the baby. 2 faces pressed together, looking at me pitifully. I laughed, pinching both cheeks. Fine, but kill my plants again. And you're in trouble. They instantly cheered. Adrian held the baby with one arm, pulling me close with the other. Crossing the street, I felt eyes on me and turned. I only saw a slowly rising car window. Behind it, someone watched the perfect family of 3 with envy. The end.